This is Authentic Business Adventures on 103.5, coming you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio, brought to you by the Bank of Sun Prairie. Welcome, Mason Tikkinen, my co-host. We also have Lisa
Hello.
Wolf. Lisa Wolf, we should probably figure out. There we go. Welcome, Lisa Wolf.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So this is the second radio show of us Authentic Business Adventures, which is probably why I can't get the name right. Welcome, you guys. How are things going today?
Magically.
Fantastic.
Hey, that's better. I like that. Tip top. So we're going to talk today about business like we do every day. Well, at least once a week. So we brought Lisa Wolf in here to tell us a little bit about what's going on with Sun Prairie Community Radio here.
That's right.
So how are you feeling about a microphone in front of your face?
Well, it's not super unusual for me to have a microphone in front of my face, but talking about work with a microphone in front of my face is weird.
That's fair. So can you tell us, it sounds like you actually got this started. So can you tell us about that?
I can tell you a little bit about it, and I'm going to argue that you probably give me too much credit. Back in I think it was maybe late 2012 or early 2013, it was brought to our attention here at the Media Center that some spots were opening up for people to apply for low power radio licenses.
Okay.
The FCC had opened up the application. It was only available for a limited amount of time.
Okay.
And basically, if you didn't get your application in, there may never be another opportunity.
Oh.
We had a different director at the time. I should say I'm not the director. I'm program coordinator for the center. The program coordinator. Yeah, I think they call me program manager now. I can't keep up with the title change, but so we had a different director at the time. His name was Cameron, and he was very much an ideas person. He liked to try new things. Really loved to try new things here, and he did a lot to bring us into the present technologically and everything like that. So one day he kind of came by my desk and told me that this was happening, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and see what applying what entails."
Sure.
What it entails. So I did. I looked up the FCC application. I did some research, and found some nonprofit organizations who were advocating for communities and other nonprofits to apply for this sort of a station, in terms of having free speech to just general community. Everything the Media Center is about, really, giving people the chance to have their opinions out there. On television, on the radio, all of it. So I did some research, found some organizations, one called Prometheus, which was particularly helpful, and kind of walked through the process step by step of filling out the application. I did some engineering, like some calculations myself that I really was keeping my fingers crossed until the last possible minute that they were right. But I prepared everything, and we applied, and a few months later, we got a notice that we had a construction permit in the mail.
Wow.
So it was big, exciting news for us. At the time, I was just back from maternity leave, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
So the construction permit was...
How is this going to happen? Yeah.
For the antenna? Or for the...
For the station.
For the station.
Yeah, for the station. So a construction permit, you apply for the permit. From the FCC, you apply to the FCC for a permit, and if you get it, you have 18 months after you get that letter in the mail saying you got your permit to go on the air, to get on the air. So construct your tower, get your transmitter together, get your studio together, and all of that. You have to be just on the air 18 months after you get that.
So this building that we're in right now, did this exist?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let's go back.
Okay.
So the Media Center has existed for about 40 years.
Okay.
What we started as was cable access.
Okay.
So if you kind of remember Wayne's World,
sure,
Wayne Garth, cable access like that. That's how we started.
Sure.
We started
Party on,
Wayne. So we started with probably VHS cameras or maybe something even older than that. As a very small organization, we were on Main Street. I can't remember the exact address, but it's a brown building. We started on a very small makeshift
All
studio.
right.
Then when this library was built, we're currently at the library in Sun Prairie.
Sure.
The space was built for us, for the cable access stations. We have 2 of them.
Okay.
So that organization was already in place. We already have a nonprofit friends group, which is technically the organization that applied for the radio station permit.
Okay.
So through our friends group, we have this little nonprofit radio station.
So
to
when
go
you,
along with our cable stations.
that's awesome. So when you got that letter that said you got 18 months to make something happen, how many people had to get on board with that?
Well, everyone on the staff had to get on board.
Okay.
And that was pretty easy.
Okay.
I was on board, of course, because I had applied for
Sure.
it. And we had just gotten a new director, Jeff Robbins, at the
Okay.
time.
Sure.
And he was on board with it.
All right.
So we had to speak to our commission,
Okay.
our media center commission, and get them on board.
Okay.
So
Was that a big deal? Were there any challenges?
it wasn't a big deal because everyone on the commission is really supportive of the organization and kind of lets us take it as far as we can go with it.
All right.
Within reasonable, bounds.
Sure.
So we did prepare a presentation. That took a little while. There was a lot of equipment research that came with
okay.
that because neither Jeff nor I nor any of the other staff
Sure.
had ever done radio before, especially not from an engineering standpoint, from a technical standpoint.
Sure. So you're talking board, software, microphones, headphones,
All
everything?
of that stuff,
Okay.
transmitter, antenna. We had
Oh,
no
even the
clue.
big stuff
we
like
had
that?
no clue.
Okay.
We had no clue.
And it was all on you to set that up.
Right.
Was it like, here's a credit card? Or
No,
was there like,
no, it wasn't
here's
like
50
that.
cents, go to work?
It wasn't, yeah. Well, it was somewhere in between the two. But,
Okay.
but it was more like, okay, so what do we think we can get away with spending?
Okay.
What kind of budget do we have? So we determined the amount that we thought we could afford to set aside for startup.
Okay.
And in that lump sum, I sort of kind of went down from there and I said, well, what pieces do we need? We need an audio board. We need a transmitter. We need an antenna. We need to find a place to put our antenna. All of that. So, we need microphones, the microphones we're talking on right now.
Sure.
All of that stuff. So I sort of put that together, and it was a much more meager version at the start. I think that way. I think I didn't dream big to start because I really didn't know. But then, thankfully, Jeff kind of worked with the original stuff, and he said, "Well, maybe you have this little board. Maybe you could put a bigger board in there. Maybe you can afford that. See what that costs." So we kind of went back and forth and found a package deal sort of that suited what we thought we might be able to afford, and we presented that to the board, and they were really excited about it.
Very cool.
Actually really excited about it and very supportive of it. So from there, it's just kind of gotten to be what it is now, which is amazing. 2 years on the air, 2.5 years on the air, and we have a ton of volunteers. We have a ton of listeners. I hope that we do.
You know?
I know that we do.
Sure.
I know that we have a ton of listeners. So it's been a really amazing experience.
Very cool. So you mentioned this was 100 or is a 100-watt studio amplifier. I don't know what.
We were allowed to broadcast 100 watts total.
Okay.
To the world, which means it's effective radiated power, which is a calculation. There's a lot of sort of math that goes into it,
Sure.
with terrain and height of the antenna and all of that. So we actually pump out about 42 or 43 watts.
Okay.
But because of the height of our tower and everything, it all equals 100 watts, which is tiny compared to any commercial radio station that you would listen to.
Sure. So going west from where we are at the Sun Prairie Library, how far west can we go and still hear it?
I would say you can get to about Marshall. Is Marshall to the west of here? I'm
East,
geographically.
north, like towards Middleton.
Towards Middleton. I know I've heard us on the Beltline.
Okay.
People have said that they hear us around Easttown Mall.
All
it's
right.
really not very far.
Okay.
Our farther reaching signal is to the north.
Oh,
up
gotcha.
that 151 corridor.
Sure.
If you drive up, you'll lose us about Columbus.
Oh, all
So
right.
73.
All right.
Is it 73, that highway?
Sure.
Where you go under the bridge
Yep.
and sort of we get staticky at that point.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's not a lot of space
Mm-hmm.
for the terrestrial radio station,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more than we thought.
All right.
We thought basically our signal would cover the Sun Prairie city limits,
Sure.
and that was about it. We didn't
right.
realize we would reach into Madison, possibly Monona, all of that. But I should mention also we're streaming online. So
Nice.
That's
Very
another
cool.
thing that we do that makes us a little bit bigger.
Perfect. Perfect. We're streaming this online too now.
Woohoo.
Not live, but do you have any regrets
Any regrets?
or something you wish you would have done differently?
Something I wish we would have done differently. I wish. That's a tough one. I'm really happy with the way everything came together.
Okay.
However, I wish I would have visited more commercial radio stations, college radio stations, any sort of like sound recording before that.
Okay.
By trade, I'm a graphic designer.
Okay.
That's what I
Here,
went
here.
to-
I think
went
you
to
have
college for.
3 in the room here.
Oh my gosh,
That's
it's
3
all
for
of us.
3, right?
So
Boom.
cool. So I had never done anything with audio engineering, broadcast,
Sure.
anything like that, really. And we did go around and tour. We toured the campus radio station in Madison.
Okay.
I definitely went over to MMI, Madison Media Institute,
mhm.
and sort of took a tour there and learned a little bit about sound and saw the equipment that they had. That's more recording,
Sure.
not broadcast. But
Mm-hmm.
and we visited, there's another Monona radio station that's small like this.
Huh.
Yeah, there are a bunch of them.
All right. Slowly
just-
taking over
they're-
the world.
We're slowly taking over the world. Wouldn't that be nice? So I wish I had toured even more.
Okay.
Because now I have 2 years and I have seen a few more places, and just comfort-wise,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had put a little bit more thought into that.
Okay.
The comfort of the people in the booth, where we are right now.
Gotcha. Okay. Like as far as having chairs that are easier?
Chairs, maybe it would be nice if there were a desk in
All right.
between us to
Sure.
set papers on,
Sure.
things like that. But I think at the time we were more concerned with getting our signal on the air
Sure.
and getting the right equipment, not necessarily the right environment for the equipment to be in. To
That's
be
fair.
used.
That's fair.
But we're still growing.
Yeah.
Right?
So-
You've got time.
Yeah, we've got time. Exactly.
So next, so it's been 2.5 years.
Mhm.
So tell me what's in store for the next 2.5 years.
What's in store for the next 2.5 years? I really
Perfect world. What would you
in
like to see?
Perfect world. I would love to see where we're sitting right now in terms of equipment and space.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting in the on-air studio and the recording studio. So anytime anyone has to be live on the radio, it's in this room. Anytime someone has to pre-record a show, which we're doing now,
Right.
is in this room. Anytime anyone wants to record some underwriting announcements or some sounds, any sort of audio
Sure.
that needs to be recorded in this room, I would like another studio.
Ah,
I
okay.
would like a second studio because
Sure.
I think that would really benefit us in terms of scheduling and getting more volunteers into the station to do
Sure.
work.
That makes sense. Is that with the property that you have now or the space,
Mhm.
can that happen?
It would have to be very creative.
Okay.
It has to be very creative. I have to say, our organization is pretty jam-packed in the space that we have right now.
Okay.
Not terribly uncomfortably so, but
Mhm.
I think that we have roughly 80 to 100 people using this space.
Wow.
At different times of the day,
Sure.
and all that we do different things. There's the radio station. We have between 30 and 40 volunteers just for the station, but we also have our kids program for the television station. We have other people who volunteer for KSUN, which is the other station. So we're not uncomfortably crammed in the space, but it's pretty tight.
It's tight.
It's
All
pretty
right.
tight, so we would have to get creative, and we're thinking of ways to do that, and we are doing that in some ways now.
Okay.
So some of the ways we were creative in terms of space usage now are we have a lot of volunteers who do a podcast from home and send it to us.
Uh-huh.
That's one thing that we can do now. But it would be really nice to have that professional equipment.
Sure.
So in terms of space and equipment, that's one thing I see in the next 2.5 years, hopefully. We've done a great job getting out into the community these past 2.5 years. We like to go to all kinds of outdoor festivals. We're always at Corn Fest. We're always at Taste of the Arts. We're always at Taste of Sun Prairie. All those local festivals we try and have a booth at. We try and broadcast live anytime that we can. There's a coffee shop downtown we like to broadcast live at because they have entertainment there sometimes.
Sure.
Things like that. I would like to magnify that.
All right.
Even more, I would like to get some people out in the booths to go into the crowd and maybe draw people in, give them flyers, swag, stuff like that, and get some real awareness out there for us. Because for a community radio station, I shouldn't say that for a community radio station, for what we are, a nonprofit organization who kind of operates small the way we do, we put out a fantastic product, and
yeah, you do.
People in Sun Prairie should be listening to us. We should be number one on their dial. That's
right.
what I want.
Sure.
So
it's interesting you say that because I've been in Sun Prairie 17 years, and I expected that when I walked into the Sun Prairie Media Center here, that it would be just a board and a microphone. I didn't expect that there were actually employees. I just assumed it was a back room in the library. In fact, I went through the library looking for the door.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And so I went to the reference desk and I said, "Where's the door to the media center?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, you got to go outside."
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. Like, what? And then I came in here and there's people, and they're not all volunteers. They're employees.
That's right.
And I'm like, 17 years I've been in this place, and I had no clue.
You never knew. For being a media organization, we're terrible at promoting ourselves.
Sure.
And which can be said of, I'm sure, a lot of businesses.
Probably most.
A lot of businesses. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there, a lot of freelancers, a lot of small businesses who do fantastic work, but they absolutely stink at promoting themselves, so they're not bigger than they are.
It's like if somebody would come up with a show to help them tell their story.
If only.
Oh my gosh,
what
that would be
we
a
call
great
that
idea.
show? It would be like authentic
Something.
business.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, authentic business. Help me here.
Advertisements.
Not a nonprofit.
No, that's not quite,
no.
That's not quite right.
Authentic business.
Adventures.
Adventures. I think we should make that happen.
Deal.
Starting, let's call it 20 minutes ago.
Sold.
All right.
Love it.
It's in there. So tell me, what got you into this? If you're a graphic designer, how did you end up at the media? I want to say Media
Center.
Institute. That's not right. Media Center.
At the Media Center, at the Sun Prairie Media Center. So I graduated, I'm going to date myself, in the early 2000s.
Sure.
And I just wasn't finding something that matched my vision of helping people. It all seemed, I had a few jobs right out of college that were graphic design related. So I did some signage. I did some like television stuff, but it all just seemed a little bit hollow.
Sure.
For me personally, I really want to get in touch. I want to connect with people and help them in some way. So I did try a bunch of things. I actually was downsized at one point, which is the best thing that ever happened to me. So
Right?
I was working for this company. I really wasn't loving what I was doing. I was just sort of going through the motions, creating pretty things to sell things to people. And it wasn't, I liked some of the people I worked with and things like that. But anyway, then I got downsized and I was crushed. I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life because it was a very tough market. And when was it, like 2008?
All right. I remember
so, I had a good friend who, to get me by, to get me making some money, introduced me to cable access.
All right.
So I started working for cable access, and I thought, oh my goodness, I thought this is fantastic. I'm helping people. I'm working in media, which is what I wanted to do.
Right.
I had to stretch a lot.
Sure.
I'd never picked up a video camera in my life, maybe.
All right. All right.
I had never done video editing, lots of those things. So I had to stretch my boundaries a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But the core of it was right. Helping people get their message out,
Sure.
helping people in my community. So it kind of went from there. And the same thing with the radio station. I never thought for a second I would be doing something that didn't involve anything visual.
So it just
And here I
evolved
am.
like that. That's so interesting because we have 3 graphic designers here.
Right.
Not one of us are graphic designers. Like
Right.
we're all been trained, right?
Right.
Right.
Went to school for that,
Mhm.
and then just
Absolutely.
our paths took
Yeah.
us in ways that we would have never guessed.
Yeah. But I feel fortunate though, because if I didn't have that training,
Mm-hmm.
I got my bachelor's from UW Oshkosh.
Mm-hmm.
And had I not had that, I guess, classic education,
Sure.
4-year education,
Yep.
I don't think I would have had the tools to do what I'm doing now.
Totally fair. Yeah, I don't
Right?
mean necessarily bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting how just your paths go. It's
right.
just like
So
a river through the Grand Canyon kind
absolutely. Yeah. But so it wasn't a complete waste. The degree wasn't a waste at all.
of thing. No,
because I
no,
learned
not at
so
all.
much.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Presuming you got a degree. I just dropped out of 4 years. 4 years
And
good
that's
enough.
fine too. It's all about the experience, right?
Right? Yes. Yep. I'd totally go back.
Mhm.
But that's another story
Right.
for a different show, probably late at night. So you got some plans for the radio station. Are there any more plans for the TV studio itself, or studios?
The TV stations do a lot. We are so, and in the past, I have to give huge credit to Jeff, because he came here 3+ years ago. It might have even been almost 4 now, and we've just grown so much since then in staffing and in the people that we serve, all of that. I know that he's got plans. I know that he wants to raise more funds.
Awesome.
So we can do more things, help more people, buy fancier cameras.
Sure.
Fancier equipment, I should say. I have to say I don't know exactly what those are, but I know that a lot of it includes just getting ourselves out into the community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say aggressively, but definitely being seen,
Sure.
for what we do.
Sure.
And make people aware that we're here.
All right. So I want to ask you about 2 things here.
Okay.
One is funding. You mentioned that. I know you're
Mhm.
nonprofit. So can you mention, or just tell us about the nonprofit, or where you get the money to pay for boards and microphones and
Sure.
fancy
all of
cameras?
that. Yeah, it's sort of, anytime you get into accounting, it's pretty complicated.
All right.
We're a city department, so we're sort of like Public Works, or we're sort of like Recreation, Parks and Recreation, or all of those different departments.
Sure.
That's what we are. So the 4 of us, Jeff, Rachel, and I, are city employees.
Okay.
So we are not funded necessarily off the tax roll, I believe, and this is where it gets a little bit sticky in my mind and everything. But we're largely funded from franchise fees,
Gotcha.
from Charter Communications,
Okay.
and now from TDS.
Okay.
The 2 cable companies that
Sure.
serve our community, they pay a little bit of money per subscriber every month it's called a franchise fee that goes to the city, and that city, if the city has allocated that to us.
Gotcha.
So that's how
Okay.
we operate as a media center. We also do fundraise,
Okay.
because we are a nonprofit, and that is, it's not a sufficient amount, basically.
Sure.
It's not a sufficient amount. So we fundraise. We do have membership fees, dues, things like that. You have to pay for the classes you take,
Mhm.
Kids for, all of those things.
Sure.
And we do sell underwriting.
Okay.
So that is, most of that is from sports. We cover a lot of sports, football, basketball. We've done baseball, just
Okay.
new this year,
Sure.
on the radio and on TV. And a lot of local businesses have really stepped up to the plate. Ha ha ha. And helped us out with providing a little bit of money. They get their name out there a little bit.
Sure.
And they help us, fund the sports broadcasts.
Can
So-
you explain underwriting? Because that to me was a new term when, at least in the definition that we use it here. So
Sure.
can you explain that a little bit?
The difference between underwriting and advertising is if you if you watch any PBS, if you
Sure.
listen, it's sort of like, this program is brought to you by, and then we'll say the name of the business and, you know, maybe where they're located, or a small description. So that's underwriting. Advertising is what we think of as the flashy stuff, you know,
Sure.
the calls to action, the
Sunday,
sales,
Sunday.
yeah, the sales, Sunday, all that stuff.
Okay.
We're not, because of what we are, we're a nonprofit organization. We're not allowed to sell
Okay.
advertising. We're not allowed to broadcast advertising, especially not on the radio station. But we are allowed to do that PBS style underwriting.
So mentions, but no
Yeah.
calls to action.
Correction. No calls to correct. No calls to action. No pricing.
Sure.
You know,
No,
no-
buy one get one free.
no
or
testimonials.
Sure.
Yeah, things
bring in
like
stinky
that.
shoes for a discount or whatever. Okay. Sure. Okay.
What businesses are you shopping at?
You just,
Don't ask.
yeah.
Don't ask.
I have all
can't.
these ideas in my head, right? So
So we do underwriting.
okay,
Do underwriting.
gotcha. And so, when you mentioned having booths and stuff like this at these other events, are those donated mostly?
If we have a booth at an event, yes.
Awesome.
A lot of the events that we are at are put on by the Chamber of Commerce or another, you know, maybe
Sure.
like the city.
Yep.
And we'll say, hey, can we please have a little bit of space? And they're
Sure.
like, yeah, sure.
Because it's in their best interest for you to have a good.
Yeah, because we usually
Setup here.
broadcast live and we say where we're at and
Sure.
what we're doing and what we see around us. And, you know, we always invite people to come and visit us to say hi because we like to meet community members.
Sure.
And while they're down there,
Sure.
you know, they can check everything out too. So
Nice. Do you have any social media pages?
we do.
You do.
We
Okay.
have one for the Media Center,
Okay.
which is the overreaching organization. So there's a Facebook page. It's if you search Sun Prairie Media Center
Okay.
on Facebook, you're going to find it.
Okay. There's not too many competing with that name.
There's not any competing with that name. We're the one and the only.
Okay.
But there's also one for the radio station. There's the Sun Community Radio.
Gotcha.
Search
Okay.
that on Facebook.
All right.
You can definitely find us there. And we try to interact with the public through those as well.
All right. So they're
Definitely.
actively maintained.
They're actively maintained. We have, multiple posts per week. We check our messages daily, things like that.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Huh. Fun. And you guys tweet?
We do tweet. I'm not as much as Facebook.
Okay.
We've kind of found that Twitter is good for certain things and Facebook is good for certain things. And,
Sure.
And it seems like Facebook is the big one for an overreaching, the 5 to 95 crowd.
Sure.
Which
Sure.
is who we want to reach. We want to reach
Sure.
everybody. So Facebook is really our primary social media.
Okay. Do you get on LinkedIn at all?
We're not on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Although I think we are on Instagram as well.
Okay.
I think we are.
All right.
Which is weird for the radio station part of it, but for the media center part of it, we have a lot of visual
Sure.
information to share. Of
Nice.
course. So
We'll have to figure out how to take a selfie here and post it.
and
right?
post it. Yeah, I can help you with that. after we're
Awesome.
done.
There's bound to be some media person here that can help us. Help.
If we couldn't help you, we
Yes.
wouldn't be very good at our
Be
job.
misnamed.
Right.
So, okay, in a few years, you're going to expand TV, you're going to expand radio.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any possibility of getting more power to the station or from the station?
I have to say at this point, probably not.
Okay.
When we did apply for this license, it's a specific type of license. It's a low power license.
Okay.
So 100 watts is all we are allowed to broadcast. We can't overreach that. There was a sort of an uprising and outcry among the low power FM community to get something passed where we could broadcast up to 250 watts. But I haven't seen much
Okay.
on that front lately. So it's more than likely, as far as terrestrial broadcast goes, radio waves go, that will remain where we're at.
Okay. And that's a 100-watt equivalent.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're 42 watts, but it's equivalent.
But it's tall. Our tower's tall, so we.
So it's
yeah,
like an
so
LED light that's like a 100-watt equivalent, but it really only uses 14 or
No,
something like that.
It's not really like that.
Oh, but I mean, could you
Yeah.
bump yours up to 100 watts?
No.
No.
We have to remain where we're at. It's,
Okay.
The term is effective radiated power. So
Okay.
100 watts effective radiated power.
Gotcha.
It's
Okay.
yeah, and that's where the height of the tower, and it's like if your tower is lower, you can blast out more
right.
power.
Sure.
But if your tower is high, you can blast out less.
Okay.
So it's just a total,
All right.
you know,
Interesting.
calculation.
Huh.
So we are, I don't want to say stuck where we're at, but we will remain where we're at for the foreseeable future,
All right.
unless something does get passed
Sure.
by the FCC that we can, you know, bump up our signal, and
Right.
we're ready for that. We have a very nice transmitter that's ready for that.
Very cool.
If that should ever happen.
All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I feel like I'm doing part of the talking here, Mason. What do you got going on?
Well, I've found this really interesting because, as James said, he's been here in Sun Prairie for some time and wasn't sure this was here. Me neither. And this is the entire purpose of our program, is to help people get their story out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. We might, I don't want to say we're Sun Prairie's best kept secret, but maybe we're Sun Prairie's best kept media secret.
Yeah, would we know? It's the
No,
irony of a
we don't
secret,
know.
right?
Yeah, right?
So we'll just say yes until 6 months from now when you're just known, right?
We were really well known, so
I
we'll
mean,
say yes for the time being.
Programs like this
Right,
will help
right.
it get out.
Right,
And
absolutely.
then, other
Absolutely.
ways. So tell us
Right.
what you have in mind for more marketing. You mentioned the Corn Fest, which is magical if you like corn.
Magical if you like corn.
And other fun things to do.
Sure.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I think we're just going to try to be at everything that we can be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's working out a lot better now. Also, one thing that we're doing that I should probably definitely tell you about is we like to do a yearly concert.
Oh,
At Wetmore Park. We've been doing it for 2 years now. We
Okay.
sort of call it our birthday party concert
all right.
because we have it sort of around the same time that the radio station came on the air, which is like late July.
All right.
Early August it was this year. But we have 2 or 3 local artists come in and play some music. We have some local businesses, food vendors come in and offer what they've got. So, you know, some munchies, coffee, sandwiches, stuff like that.
Sure.
And the Lions last year provided some beer. So we had, you know, beer,
Now we're talking.
music, the park, outdoors in summer. It's fantastic. So we're thinking of really bumping up that next
All right.
year. So next summer, I really hope that our attendance is doubled. It doubled from the first year to the second year.
To how much?
I want to say, see, this is the thing we don't do is we don't count very well.
Okay.
We don't.
Numbers.
So maybe that's another goal.
Like if we went from 2 to
That's
4.
another way that we're going to improve our reach is actually take measurements of
Yeah,
where,
sure.
you know,
So you know it's
because
working.
you don't know where you're at.
could probably
if you
base
don't
it
take
on
a measurement, right?
Beer consumption, right, would be a...
You can base it on beer consumption. So we could base it on the alcohol sales from that day.
Sure.
But
Not a true science.
it's not. Yeah, I mean, you know, not a true science,
But ballpark.
ballpark, yeah. So I want to say we probably had 50 to 70 people there
Okay.
at peak.
Okay.
So, you know, maybe 125 people all told throughout the day coming and going. It was 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon.
Okay. And this was a nice summer day.
This was a nice summer day.
Okay.
So we're
with
hoping
free
to
music.
at least double that. Yes, and it was great free music too. We
Okay.
had
Nice
Salty
summer day.
Prairie.
Free music. Beer was not free.
No.
No. Okay. But there was food and beer
Yeah.
on a beautiful summer day in the
Yeah.
park with free music.
Yeah.
Okay. I
It
feel like we should be able to
it
triple
should have
this.
been bigger. Yes.
Yeah. If
yeah.
not more.
Yeah.
So
Any
that's just an
ideas?
awareness issue then,
Yeah,
right?
it's an awareness issue, really.
So do you have a marketing budget at all?
Very little.
Okay.
It's very little to almost nothing because of what we are. We
Sure.
try to put more of our budget into serving the community rather than getting the message out about us, which kind of is silly.
It is.
Now that I'm saying it out loud, it seems silly. But we do pretty well through social media.
Okay.
And we did some billboards.
You did. I
last
was going to
year.
ask
Did
you
a
about
billboard
that.
last year on
Okay.
151.
That had to eat up
we
a
managed
budget.
to do that. It did eat up a little bit of a budget. I would have to get the numbers to tell you how much.
Sure.
Because I don't know off the top of my head. But also the artists that were there promoted us, which was fantastic.
Oh, very cool.
So we had the Soggy Prairie Boys, we had Kelsey Miles Band.
All right.
We had Heather Lanassa, and they all helped promote, hey, come and see me.
Awesome.
I'm going to be in Sun Prairie on this date. So those
All
are the
right.
things that we did do.
Okay.
So as far as next year, we're
Sure.
starting to brainstorm and plan that right
All right.
now.
All right.
So
Nice. Well, talking about it doesn't hurt, right?
right, exactly,
awesome.
exactly. As I'm talking about it, I'm sort of thinking, oh my gosh, what else can I do?
You remind me. So I teach a business planning class to people that are just starting, right, or just kicking the tires and starting a business. And we were talking about marketing this past week. And I said, it doesn't matter how good you are. You can be the best at what you do, but if nobody knows, nobody's going to care and they're not going to buy from you.
Right.
So marketing and the financial portion are way bigger than the actual what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of junky stuff out there that people pay to advertise and market for, and they're doing okay, right? Because they throw money at advertising.
Right.
And vice versa, there's tons of nice businesses that fail because they don't advertise or don't market well, right? So it's interesting that we're talking about this now.
Yeah,
'Cause you got a fantastic product here, service, however you want to call it. But if people don't know about it, that's rough.
Yeah.
So
It
we have-
is-
we
it
have to
is
solve that. Okay.
It is rough. That's it. Yeah, that's a problem that we do struggle with. We are media people, but we're not advertisers.
Sure.
So
All right.
it's
You're a graphic designer, so you're headed down that
graphic
road,
designer.
right?
That's right. Yeah,
All right.
that's right. I would argue that probably maybe not so much.
All right.
Maybe not so much.
Okay. Okay.
Being the difference between it being a graphic designer and being an advertiser, in my mind, can be pretty big sometimes.
All right. Well, we
it all
just
depends
use
on what you know.
we can
the
use some
person.
powerful colors, right? Like
Powerful colors.
yellow to make
bright
stuff
colors,
happen,
yeah.
and
Like yellow and green
We'll use the rule of thirds.
and white.
sure, you got right. Just make some action. So, what is one of the best kept secrets about the Sun Prairie Media Center outside of its existence?
One of the best kept secrets about this place is that literally anyone who lives in this community can come in here and do these things.
That's awesome.
Can have a radio show, can have a television show. You know, it can come in and edit. We have a fantastic editing suite, where people can edit video, do graphic design, things like that. Our facility is just top notch in terms of things that are available to the public. So, I don't know, I guess I kind of answer your question in a broad sense. It's everything.
No, it's fair. Our existence, and then
but just the fact that everyone can come in here and create.
sure.
They don't have to, go out and buy the expensive software and do these things all on their own. We're here to help you. If you're,
All right.
in the area, come in and check us out. Come and start a conversation.
Sure. Yeah, I just walked through the door, and after I got over my overwhelm of there actually being employees in here, I was like, there's actual people. It's not just a room with a light switch. After I got over that, I was very impressed with all that you guys have going on here.
Thank you.
The equipment and you just wrecked your brain as an entrepreneur. You're just like, oh my gosh, what could we do with this? And so let's do a radio program. I first came in here to see if I could record my book.
I was going to ask you what brought you here and how you heard of us.
Yeah, it was recording the book and that kind of whatever stuff and things. But then I was like, radio program. Mason and myself talked about doing that
5 years ago.
Yeah, a long
Over
time.
5 years.
Yeah, a long time ago. And it's always been in the back of my head, but not, I don't know. It just wasn't this is one of those ideas that you didn't act on. And then lo and
Sure.
behold, you walk into a place that has people with a board and an antenna and microphones. And they're like, hey, this seems like it was meant to be. So,
Well, see, I mean, that's kind of what I really love about working here is you come in here and you're inspired. People find inspiration here.
Sure.
And oftentimes come in here and create more than they thought they were going to initially, simply because they're in this environment and, they're free to use the facilities.
Sure.
And they got us to talk to consult with.
You say
hey, do you
that-
think this is a good idea? And, do you think this is not a good idea?
It's interesting you say that because we gave you all of 30 seconds to prepare for this interview. So the irony in those phrases is just...
Right, I know.
We might have went over 100 watts there. It blows my mind. So tell me, what else should we know about the Sun Prairie Media Center?
What else should you know about the Sun Prairie Media Center? Well, I suppose, just in case people are listening to this on podcast,
Sure.
podcast, the radio station is 103.5
All right.
on the FM dial.
Okay.
We have K-Sun, which is a community channel.
Mm-hmm.
That is channel 983 on Charter, and we're soon to be on TDS. That's a big thing for us.
All right.
We're going to be on TDS because TDS has just come to the area.
Sure. That'll be the same programming on both?
Yes,
Okay.
same programming on Charter and on TDS.
Okay.
And Kids 4 is 984 on Charter and also soon to be on TDS.
All right.
So that's definitely something you should know. You should also know that we love to work with the library. So
right.
if you're, we do a lot of things over at the library. We offer classes over at the library.
Still no door that
And
connects
those are,
you.
there's still no door that connects us. I know, isn't it maddening?
Kinda.
I mean, there's a secret door, but it's only for staff.
Oh, now they tell us.
It's not a secret door anymore. We do work with the library a lot. So if you are a person who is at the library for anything, take a look. They definitely have some flyers out. We do sort of maybe a couple of things a year. More than a couple, I'm underselling it. Probably 6 things a year or so, like 6 workshops that you can take at the library to introduce you to the media center.
Nice.
Yeah.
So can you tell us in any, like this is broadcast on a podcast, right? So
Mhm.
there's probably somebody in Nome, Alaska listening to us now, right?
Could be.
So is something like this common in other towns?
Moderately.
Moderately.
It's moderately common, yes. We belong to some state and national organizations
Okay.
that have media centers.
Okay.
Anywhere you go, it's going to be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of it just in the Dane County area. There's Fitchburg, Monona, Madison, Oregon.
All right.
We all these little towns and bigger towns and
Mhm.
cities have media centers. Some of them have radio, some of them don't. Some of them do nothing but broadcast government meetings. Some of them
Sounds exciting.
are full-blown centers like this where you
All right.
can come in, the public is invited to come in and create media. So it's a little bit different anywhere that you go. The state organization that we belong to is called Wisconsin Community Media.
Okay.
They are also on Facebook, and there's also a website. It's wisconsincommunitymedia.com.
Okay.
The national organization that we belong to, and why do I always forget this? The Alliance for Community Media, ACM. That's the national one, and that it's allianceforcommunitymedia.com. We're all big on websites. Website titles make
Sure.
sense, of course.
Very long ones.
So if you visited those 2 websites, you would likely find something in your area. So
Perfect.
an access center in your area, a radio station in your area, community media center in your area, or maybe just outside your area. So
Awesome.
it's pretty common. Mm-hmm.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. So I guess that leads us, we don't have a ton of time here, but I want to learn more about Lisa Wolf.
Oh, no. Okay.
So can you tell us a little bit about your backstory?
My backstory?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Beyond the
Wisconsin-
graphic design thing. We
Sure.
got graphic design, got into this media center because you got laid off, and then it expanded out and you got this radio station rolling. Huge accomplishments there.
Thank you.
Even the laid off part,
Uh-huh.
I'll count that. we've all been there. I've been there. So
It was fun being without a 9 to 5 in
Mhm.
the summer. But I am a Wisconsin native,
all right.
so I'm from just a little bit north of here, Waupun.
Okay.
Is where I grew up. I went to college in Wisconsin. I'm big into. I really like Wisconsin as a state. I think we have a lot of fantastic natural areas. I love the people. I love the food, of course.
Mhm.
The cheese, the beer, all
Right,
of that stuff.
right.
So I really think wherever I go, I celebrate Wisconsin. Wherever I travel, I celebrate Wisconsin.
Sure.
With PBR.
So with PBR.
Or whatever.
No, I mean,
Cheese.
Or, yeah,
Whatever.
cheese, I meant.
Well, I speak well about it. It's when when someone from outside of Wisconsin thinks about Wisconsin, I'm sure they think of cheese and beer, but I really love to talk about it.
I like to think so.
So this is my home.
All right.
It's fantastic. I guess I don't know what to say about myself. I'm not really great at talking about myself. I do love radio. This is my new thing. I have a show on the radio.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
I
Okay,
didn't.
well, see, there's the whole
secrets here.
bad at self-promotion thing.
Sure, sure. What's the show?
It's called Good Morning Sun Prairie.
Okay.
And Friday mornings, 7 to 9.
Okay.
I have a fantastic co-host. Her name is Des. She is also my best friend of 24 years.
That's a while. Okay.
So maybe 24 years and counting. I'm not sure. Maybe it's longer. It's been so long we've forgotten.
Sure.
But we're on the air live from 7 to 9 every Friday morning.
Wow.
We play lots of music, upbeat music. We like to talk about some weird news. Sometimes we have a psychic call in every once in a while. People are always welcome to call in and make requests.
All right.
We do requests, and it's just a load of fun. It's a load of fun.
7 to 9.
7 to 9
every Friday.
Every Friday. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
With very rare exceptions,
Okay.
Very rarely you won't find us live on the radio on
Sure.
Friday morning. So it's one of my passions that I didn't realize I had. And
That's
I
incredible.
discovered it, through complete accident.
So the psychic just calls and you're like, I knew it. Or it's vice versa.
Well, no, because I'm not the psychic.
Maybe she taught you something.
But she did reach out to me, at first. It was kind of funny how that happened because she just emailed us. And
Sure.
we're like, sure, we'll have you on every fourth Friday. So every fourth Friday she's on.
In studio or she calls in?
She calls in. She's
Okay.
from Minnesota. So another Midwest gal.
Wow.
Her name is Tiff.
All right.
Psychic Tiff.
Tiff and Des.
Tiff and Des. And very often we will have people call in and give us local sports updates.
All right.
So that's a lot of fun. Our sportscasters, Bill Baker, Mike Powers, they do football.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have, we still do have, it's not swimming season yet anymore, is it? We had
You
some
are
swimming updates from
completely
Cardinal
asking the
swimming
wrong
updates.
person.
I know. I'm kind of not so much a sports person myself, but I really like to have people call in and do sports updates. So that's the kind of show. That's the kind of show we do.
All right.
And I guess you can find me on the radio off the cuff on shows like this too.
So that's Good Morning Sun Prairie. All right.
Right. Good Morning Sun Prairie.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's me.
All right. Mason, how are you feeling? You have some questions for Lisa?
I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have covered a lot of ground today.
Well, I appreciate you coming in, or we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me.
What I would consider to be short notice, relatively.
Yeah.
30, 20 seconds.
20 seconds or so.
Yeah. So this, just to remind the listeners, is the second time that we've done this. First time with actual people besides me in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice change. I like that. I'm sure the listeners do too. So this is, what was that name that we came up with again?
This program is the amazing and auspicious
Authentic
business adventures radio
That's right.
program
We came up
with
with
James and Mason.
You came up with that. Because it's authentic, it's
Authentic
business, and it's
business
adventures. Well, I feel like we covered some authentic business adventures with Lisa Wolf.
That's right. What's next for Authentic Business Adventures? Can I ask that? I feel like I flipped the script and now I'm interviewing
Oh,
you.
you can do, well, yeah.
Well, we have an
was there a
exciting
script?
guest for next week. We'll be able to talk about
Fire away.
Our next promotion, which will be recorded later.
I don't think we can. There's no promotions. It's nonprofit.
Well, you can promote who you're going to have on the air next
Who
year,
will we have
or
on the
next
air?
week.
We are going to have Mr. Patrick from Salvatore's Tomato Pies.
That's awesome. So for the people that are listening in the distant world, can you tell us a little bit about Salvatore's? I know and love them, but I didn't until...
They produce high-quality food found in downtown Sun Prairie as well as on the east side of Madison. We're going to talk to Patrick about his story, why they do what they do,
All right.
and a little bit about some of his experiences that have influenced his perception in business.
That's incredible. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Awesome.
Super.
So I feel like we have a little bit of time to kill. We have some people we got to entertain here, right? We got 10 more minutes, so I'm going to keep these guys rolling, right?
Okay.
So I guess, Mason, since I have you in the story,
Mm-hmm.
can I ask you?
You can ask me anything you like.
All right. I want to know how soon do you have to get going?
Immediately.
Okay. So I'll tell you what. So we'll wrap up with Mason. Mason, say goodbye, and I'll finish this bad
Bye,
boy up.
guys.
All right.
Bye, Mason.
So, Lisa, since we got you here, I want to ask you a couple more questions if you don't mind.
Absolutely. You can
Okay.
ask me anything.
There has probably been a mistake that you learned from the past couple of years that you've made from a business point of view. We'll just leave it at business. Right?
All right. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me what that is?
A mistake. Can I maybe twist that around a little bit?
Sure.
Maybe a little bit. So I maybe not a mistake so much, but something I didn't expect.
Fair.
Is that all right?
Run with that. Absolutely.
Okay. So when we first got the station on the air, I did not think that there would be as many people coming in these doors for radio
Oh.
as there have been and are.
To have programs.
It's to have programs to be
All
on
right.
the air.
Sure.
We had our first volunteer even before the equipment was bought.
Oh, that's awesome.
No kidding. And for the life of me, I can't figure out how everyone heard of it. I mean, we did definitely. We had press releases that we sent out. We had articles in the Star and things like that. But just the number of people that came in, I don't think I was prepared for that.
All right.
And I love it. I
Nice.
love it. I love that there was this flood of people coming in the door wanting to have a radio station. But if I could go back and tell myself something,
All right.
I would definitely warn myself that there was going to be much more need for like time management and schedule management.
Fair.
I had no idea. I thought we were going to be running on automation 24/7, that I was going to have to do all this voiceover work. Really, I'm not. I'm scheduling other people's stuff, which is
All right.
what we wanted.
Sure.
But just unexpected.
All right.
Yeah.
So how hard is it to get a radio program on here? From my point of view, it must be pretty easy, but
It's
I don't know.
very easy. It's
Okay.
very easy. I mean, and really, we work with you too. I mean, you should know.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've just done,
Mhm.
in the past couple of weeks. You come in and, you come in for a workshop. I'll show you how everything works. We talk a little bit about what you want to accomplish on the air, whether you want to do a music program, a talk program, call-ins. We sort of have that discussion, and you bounce your ideas off of me, and
Sure.
we just have a conversation about it. And from there, it's just a matter of scheduling. It's do you want to be live on the air?
All right.
If so, can we find a time slot for you? And
Sure.
if we do, then I'll sit with you and I'll help you for
All
a
right.
couple of weeks.
Sure.
And if you need it, and sometimes longer if you need it, and really that's all there is to it. This is it's for the public to
Sure.
come in and play with the radio.
That's so awesome. So just powerful stuff that we have in just about any city, stuff like this that people have to kind of dig. Or it's interesting how you and I imagine other studios like you are trying to put out the word, and then there's people that think like, I never heard of this. How did I not hear this? So one of us is under a rock. I'm not sure which one. I'm going to assume it's me.
I think it's a little bit. Well, I don't know. I wish I had the answer.
Sure. Or it's such a powerful tool that people just assume it doesn't exist.
That may be part of it.
It's like, you imagine if there was a radio station that I could just have my own program on. That would be magical.
If I told myself, high school me, that
Sure.
this was available,
Right.
I would not have believed it.
I like that. I like that.
And it is. If I wouldn't believe it. I would say, what's the catch?
Sure. Right. Perfect.
I mean, the only catch is produce programming for the community,
Right.
which if you're coming in to produce, you're obviously interested in it being heard.
Nothing to
So,
it.
yeah.
Very nice. So can you tell me what is expected of a person that has a show? Because I imagine that there's one, they have to actually show up routinely.
Yes.
Otherwise,
We like routine, especially on the radio. It makes things easier to schedule.
sure.
I think it's easier for listeners to know when they're going to hear your program. So
All
if you
right.
come in at a specific time every week and record it, you can either pre-record it, you can be live, but consistency is the key. We don't
All right.
like people, just not showing up.
Sure.
not being on the radio. That makes us sad.
That's a bit. I understand and know. Yeah.
Yeah. So consistency is something that we really like. We have to, of course, abide by FCC regulations here.
Sure.
So, everything that would be a no-no on a commercial radio station is definitely a no-no here.
So no potty mouth.
In terms of language, in terms of, slander, all that
Okay.
stuff.
Sure.
So we like to keep it positive here.
Mhm.
We definitely want everyone to have their opinion heard, but we want to be a positive force in the community,
Sure.
as well as a way for you to get your opinion out.
Gotcha.
So we like to keep it positive.
Not
But,
here to ruin
yeah,
anybody's day. Here.
just showing up, being prepared,
Mhm.
all of that stuff that you're already hopefully prepared to do in adult life.
Sure.
For a job. I mean, there is some dependability involved. It's not just.
I can tell you from
fun
interviewing
games.
people,
Mm-hmm.
for employees for business that I have,
Mm-hmm.
that the assumption that people will actually show up is a huge assumption, much bigger than I ever anticipated it would be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you a little bit of a story. My wife is a 8th grade teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and she'll come home and talk about how kids didn't come to class or they're playing on the phone the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I have people in different groups that I'm part of and meetings and such that they apparently haven't matured past 8th grade.
Yeah.
They don't show up or
think
they
I
show up
know.
late or
I think I know what you're talking
they're
about.
playing on their
Yeah.
phone.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I don't know if it
Mhm.
seems like a lot of people just never cross that or get above that,
Yeah.
which
Which
is peculiar.
Which is strange. Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's so much more rewarding to be present than
Absolutely.
to be, than to be absent and
Absolutely.
not taking part in life.
Huge.
Right?
Huge, huge, huge. Awesome. Well, I think we just, we got a couple minutes, so I'm going to hope that you can tell me how to finish this up.
I am definitely going to tell you how to finish this up. I mean, we could probably play some music in a minute.
Sure.
We could probably mention that we're coming to you. We're underwritten 103.5. The Sun's underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. We're coming from 103.5. The Sun Studios here. Wow, I wrote it. And I
Yeah,
can't even
right.
say it
That's
right.
not bad.
Ouch.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
And yeah, I think we we'll take them out with Taking Care of Business.
Sure.
So if you
I'm
want
gonna
to go ahead and cue up your music there.
pause before we figure that out. So what is the website that this can be found on?
This podcast that is being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to sunprairiemediacenter.com,
Is that all one
there's a
word?
player on the front page. Yes.
Okay.
sunprairiemediacenter.com. There's a player on the front page.
All
You
right.
can navigate to that player and you'll be able to find it in the list of pre-recorded programs.
Awesome.
Mhm.
And then I also have it at drawincustomers.com, and I
There
get a
you
little
go.
link for podcasts. So, yay, podcast not plural, which maybe it should be, but it's not as of this moment. So
now
that-
it is. This is episode number 2. So
It
now
is, right? Woo!
Yep.
So that's awesome. So I appreciate your help, Lisa, and
You
you
bet.
telling us the story, and hopefully we get some people in here. If you would want people to do something, would you want them to come and listen, or would you want them to come and make a show, a TV show, or what would be the best week or best thing that they could do?
The best thing that they can do is just walk in the store.
All right.
If they walk in the store, then they're going to find their way in this whole center. There's so much that can be done.
Sure.
I feel like they're going to get inspired just by walking in the door.
Awesome.
I
I can
mean,
totally agree with that.
I want them to make something wonderful.
Awesome.
That's what I want.
Appreciate that. Nice. Pow.
Boom.
Okay, so this is the Sun Prairie Media Center. They are, if you go to the Sun Prairie Library, you'll see them to the left when you face the library front doors. Go in the separate doors by the big sign that says Sun Prairie Media Center.
Yep.
And you'll be there. This is where the magic will happen. My name is James Cademan. We're going to fire up